You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
Welcome to the RuPaul Drag Race Recap Show for Season 5, Episode 8, titled Scent of a Drag Queen. My name is Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by one crapulous co-host. From the podcast Pod is my co-pilot. Please say, well, you know what? We're going to try something here, Taylor. What is the clip?
The one, the sensual, beautiful, overpriced.
I'm a man.
To Taylor, the Latte Boy. Hello, Taylor, the Latte Boy.
Hello, Joe, the podcast host.
Now, let me tell you this, everybody. We are recording this on I think today's December 21st, I believe.
Yes.
2019. And the reason I mention that is because, most people will be listening to this in the summer of 2020. And you have just come back, Taylor, the Latte Boy, from watching the last installment of the Skywalker saga, Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. I don't know anything about your thoughts. Now, I will say before you say anything, I do know that the critics have been savage to this movie, yet the cinema score, which polls audience members as they leave, is pretty high. So I'm very curious to hear where Taylor the Latte Boy falls. Give us a grade.
I would give this A-. A-
for Taylor the Latte Boy. A-.
It is very much a popcorn movie.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of things that speak to the fans, especially the fans.
So they break the fourth wall and they go, "Hello, Taylor. I see you."
Yes, that's exactly what they do.
Okay.
That's exactly what they did. There are definite plot holes that don't make a lot of sense.
Okay.
There are things that happen that we had lunch afterwards, and Babalu and I were kind of talking about it and saying that we didn't understand certain things, and so some of the choices were a little like, I don't get why they did that, but it definitely hit a lot of the emotional notes I wanted it to.
Well, even now you're sort of choking up. Did you cry?
I'm not.
Did you cry?
Oh no, yeah, I definitely. There's something happens in the middle that was rough. That's all I'm gonna say. That there's something that happens, and it's not necessarily when it happens. It's the after effect of another character. That's all I'm gonna say.
And you wept. Did you weep?
I didn't weep. I got the big rolling cheeks down rolling tears down my cheeks.
Oh my gosh! So I should take some Kleenex to this.
If you're as big of a Star Wars fan, and here's the thing, I love Star Wars.
Sure,
I'm not one of these that knows all of the technology and the science and all that kind of stuff. I just enjoy the movies because they're fun popcorn movies that I saw the first one when I was 4. I'm seeing the last one when I'm 47. I just enjoy the experience of these, and I love the music and all of that kind of stuff. So there's something about it on that emotional level that I really enjoy. You and I have had extensive conversations about the music and how that affects us and all that kind of stuff. And I think that it's a really, really good movie. Is it a perfect movie? No. But it's a really good movie. In the chat room a few minutes ago, or no, I guess, I don't know when it was, but Luke Stamen said that he had heard that it sucked and he wasn't going to go because he or he was going to go because he had non-refundable tickets, to which I would just say, I think you should go. I think everybody should go see this movie.
Now, which one? Now, Taylor, you know, I was just having this conversation with a friend about, look, I like Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I'm not one of these, because my friend was asking me, because I don't know if you know this, but The Last Jedi is very divisive.
I love The Last Jedi.
Okay, so you're in the I love The Last Jedi camp.
I thought the Last Jedi was... I was emotionally drained leaving The Last Jedi.
Okay.
I wasn't emotionally drained leaving this movie.
Now, I've heard, I don't know this, and no spoilers, please, but I heard that this movie sort of cancels some of the things that were done in The Last Jedi.
We were talking about that. Babalu kept saying that he'd heard that it kind of retconned a couple of things, and I don't know what it could have retconned. We were going to watch The Last Jedi last night, and then we ended up watching The Witcher, because that started yesterday too. And I don't know. I will have to go back and see The Last Jedi and see if there are things, or I'm sure I've purposely avoided articles, videos on YouTube. I even learned how to mute words on Twitter so that I was afraid of people spoiling anything for this. So I don't know what could have been retconned out, but I'm sure at this point I'll have known by the time this comes out in the summer.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna jump. Well, we can talk about this after the show on the air, but this is gonna be literally 8 months old by the time people hear this. So
yeah,
I'm gonna get out of here. What I will say, though, everyone needs to know this, is that it's getting near Christmas, and Afterthought Media bought Taylor the Latte Boy a hoodie, a Lucasfilm hoodie that you can. There's a reason I'm bringing all this up, by the way. That you can only get at the studio store at the Walt Disney Studios. I went there with friend of the show, Jean Paul. And in fact, I can't even buy them. Jean Paul has to buy them. Let me put it that way. Jean Paul has to literally buy them. I can't buy them. So after I went the first time and I bought Taylor the sweatshirt, I felt badly because I didn't get one for my niece for Christmas. And I had bought an extra hoodie. And I was like, I don't want this fucking hoodie. So I go, I'll take it back and I'll exchange it for one for my niece, right? I'll just get the one in her size and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So I go, now John Paul has to go with me because John Paul's the only one who can do anything with that stuff. So we go there and he's like, okay, I'll go return this hoodie. You go find the one that's your niece's size. And I can't find this hoodie anywhere in the little studio store. And so I walk up to the counter to basically ask, what's going on? And the woman tells John Paul, he's at the counter, and she's like, you're not returning this, are you? And he's like, yeah. And she goes, I wouldn't return this. We're done. That's it. There's no more. And I don't know if we're going to ever get them back in again. Right? I'm like, oh, wow. That makes it even more special, right? The reason I'm telling you all this story is after I'm leaving, I'm on my way home, I called Taylor to tell him this story. He is so, And
I'm listening.
Like, huh?
I was listening to you.
But there was no, are you choking up again?
No, I burped. I'm sorry. Thank you for pointing that out to everybody. Go ahead.
Which is funny because this happened. Everyone should know we've actually done this episode before, but no one's ever heard it. And I was listening to it and that happened on that episode. But anyway, so I tell Taylor, I'm thinking he's going to be like, oh my God, that is so cool. No, he's like, yeah, next topic. And I was like, oh, all right.
I wasn't quite that dismissive of it. It is very cool. And I will be happy to tell people that every time I'll just wander through Target on a February and go, do you like my zip up hoodie? You can't get this anymore. It's exclusive.
Well, yeah, it's so funny. And now I'm in this weird thing. Do I want to keep the hoodie or try to sell it?
The one you're going to send to me or the other one?
No, the other one.
Oh, I was just like, was that because I didn't give you a big enough response? Fuck him. I'm going to mail it.
No. The other one, should I sell it? I don't know. It kind of feels gross to sell it. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, it just does. Like, oh, John Paul, thanks. I can sell this thing. Even though John Paul did nothing, I paid for it. But
Okay, but why not hold on to it for a while?
That's true.
And then at some point, if you want to sell it down the line, you could, but you've also got something that you can't get anymore. Something that you who enjoy these posters,
That's true.
enjoy the exclusivity of these posters, but all of the Bondo posters you have aren't up on the walls, right?
No, there's this big portfolio that I have.
Yeah. Well, then just don't add the sweatshirts to the portfolio. But
I see what you're saying, yeah. It's like my Boba Fett doll. Do you know about my Boba Fett doll?
You mean the action figure from the 80s?
No.
Or do you have a doll?
This is so nerdy. I'm so sorry when this is Star Wars talk if you're listening. At Comic-Con, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, this one toy company came out with a Boba Fett doll. Okay. But this is, you know what? I'm going to save it for after the show. No one cares about this. I'll tell you after the show.
Okay.
It's such a long Boba Fett story.
Is this like the Masters of the Universe thing that you got?
Yes. But this is a big Boba Fett doll. This big.
Does it look like the action figure, but it's just a huge version of the action figure?
I can't. I have to tell you later. It's such a long story about this.
Okay.
Basically, it was in a parade. Okay. That's all I have to tell you. Okay. So, anyway, so the Taylor didn't care. But, on a related note, we should talk about things you can't get anymore, is Taylor and I... So, a little brief history with this. So, right when we first started doing Patreon, we did this silly thing where we offered people, again, where I don't ever understand people are going to pay for things. I'm like, no one's ever going to do this.
Right.
And we put no limit either. On the exclusive tier, I put a limit. We should have put a limit only one per month or something like that, where you could get a private show with me and Taylor. Okay?
Yes.
And a few people signed up, and one guy, and the show could be whatever you wanted it to be. And I would say of the 4 or 5 people who did it, maybe more, only one of them wanted us to actually cover an episode for them, right?
Yes, an episode on a season we'd never done before.
A season we had yet to do season 5 then, and so he had chosen season 5, episode 8. Now I don't think he even wants his name shared, but I will say he's an exclusive tier member,
and he's in the chat room right now.
Oh, is he in the chat room right now?
Yes, he did post that in the feed that he is the one that did it. We don't have to announce to everybody that's going to listen to this his name.
Yeah,
but
because because here's the funny thing is, and listener, don't worry, I got you. Okay, don't stress. But I wrote to him, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to release this unreleased episode along with the episode, right? And what's funny is have you listened to the whole thing, Taylor?
Yes.
Yeah, I listened to the whole thing too. It's actually a very good episode.
Yes, and for reasons that he didn't want it released, we also have reasons we wouldn't want it released.
Yeah. Taylor and I have our own reasons why we don't want it released, and he has his own. It has to do with what he does for a living. It's highly sensitive, and we talk at length about it, and he gives opinions that he probably shouldn't give and whatnot.
Right.
So this episode will never be released, but it's actually quite funny and quite good. I think because that's the thing why we could never release it. Because we know it can never be released, we're actually a lot more casual. I'm naming names of people, and
we pick at some afterthought media scabs.
Yeah,
we do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, we go in. So I can understand why he didn't want it released. Now that I've listened to it, I can understand. What's funny though is, it's been years, so I didn't remember the episode at all. It's funny about how my memory, my initial opinion then pretty much, I think there's one part where I don't agree with myself, but for the most part jives with the way I feel now about this episode.
Yeah, there's parts of it that I think because we were watching it in one capsule versus watching on either side, some of my opinions definitely skewed when I watched it versus especially listening back to the episode that we already did. Yeah. So in some ways though, I watched the episode yesterday afternoon and then last night listened to our episode. Yeah. And kind of took notes on our episode versus the actual episode. So it's funny. So it's kind of, my notes are a recap of our episode. Yeah. Of an episode. If that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. I thought it was very, very interesting and it was very funny. I'm sorry you guys can't listen to it. This person has his own private episode of season 5, episode 8, Scent of a Drag Queen. But with that in mind, Taylor, let's jump right into it. This week, Brent Corrigan drops trow for the girls. The contestants make their own sense. Jinx falls for Ivy. The girls star in their own commercials, and Aubrey O'Day is a little Extra. Alaska finally wins a challenge while Ivy Winters and Alyssa Edwards are placed in the bottom 2. The girls ain't got nothing going on but the rent, but in the end, Ivy Winters was sent home packing. Taylor the Latte Boy named 2 things you liked about the episode and 1 thing you did not.
2 things that I liked about the episode were, the first of which is, while I liked her as a queen, and she was kind of harmless, I'm glad that Ivy is gone, only so that we don't have to hear RuPaul say her name anymore. It's so fucking
Ivy Winters!
Yeah, it's so fucking grating. And I like the mini challenge. I really like the mini challenge. Anytime
we're going to get into it today.
Shirtless guys and
we're going to get into it today.
Going back, watching the episode and then hearing us talk on the private show about Brent Corrigan. That was the first thing I'm like, let me see if I can figure out which one he is. And I did. He was number 13 for anybody that's watching the show now.
You're going to have a little bit of a surprise, Taylor, later.
Okay.
Bring on Brent Corrigan, jump on. What do you think? And what if this comes to fruition by the time this airs? What do you have? True crime is the big thing right now in podcasts, right?
Yeah.
You know, there was that King Cobra movie, but no one saw it, A. And B, I think it did a disservice to that story. What if Afterthought did oh my God, I forgot about my lawsuit I'm going to have. Wait, anyway, King Cobra, what if we did that story, the True Crime podcast?
Okay. I think that's a great idea for you to do.
Yeah, not for you. No, for me. I actually think, and I'm not going to sue anybody. No one's going to get sued, right? But there is a pretty
wink.
Yeah, there is a pretty clear cut case that I think a listener that I don't know of, but listen probably to Drag Race Recap or something like that, stole an idea, made a podcast about it, and it's like on Gimlet.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll tell you about it after.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Because it's something that I know I've talked about. Yeah. Right now we have Boba Fett. Right? This is what we're talking about after. We have Stolen Podcast. And then wasn't there something else? This is more about the Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yeah, we can talk more about the Rise of Skywalker.
Okay. Anyway. Okay. Okay, so that was one thing you didn't. One thing you liked.
Two things that I liked. The one thing that I did not like was this Aubrey O'Day.
Oh, don't even get me started on her.
I didn't like her when we did the private show, and I definitely did not like that was honestly the part when they show her in today on, this week on Drag Race Recap or whatever. The first time they show her with the big stupid eyes and the big tits, I was like, oh God, I hate you so much. And it never stopped the whole way through, even through Untucked.
Yeah.
Where it's clear she was not liked by any of the judges.
I didn't watch Untucked, but they kind of mention it. Oh
yeah, no, they do a big thing about it, and they all pretty much make fun of her because I forgot that she not only was she on The Apprentice, she also used to fuck Donald Trump Jr.
Oh, really? Oh, that makes
while he was married.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah, so that's kind of even more reasons to hate her. So I just it's one of those that she's repulsive to me.
Yeah, she's a repulsive person.
Right.
Okay. 2 things I liked about the episode. Mini challenge. I loved these. I have a special treat for you for this mini challenge. We talk about the mini challenge, but it's gonna be a fun little game we're gonna play here called "What You Packin'," and you have to match my underwear.
The door opens and it's Evan and Laurie and Jamila and everybody. I have to figure out who's wearing matching underwear.
Yeah. Anyway, and you're like, "Ooh, Laurie, I can't see your underwear." Anyway, so I love the mini challenge. That was fun. And I said this on our private show, and I'll say it again. Why don't they bring this challenge back? They've done versions of it since.
Yeah.
But they should just do this. This version is the simplest.
This isn't anything you can prepare for. It's not like, the reading challenges or anything like that.
Are we repeating the private show?
It's a numbers game.
Should we just slip in clips of you and I just do other things and slip in clips of the private show?
Sure.
So, I like the mini challenge. Let me see. What else do I like? You know what's so funny? I remember we talked about this in the show. It's kind of a weird episode to choose as a private show. That's what we asked the listener. And so there's not, again, it's a kind of a paint by numbers episode to me. It's like, there's not much to like, there's not much to dislike. Aubrey O'Day, I'm with you. I'm going to revisit that. She was really annoying. It's my thing I didn't like. The other thing I liked, I don't know. Brent Corrigan. Can I say the same thing twice in different ways?
No.
But but you know, I'll say I like the episode. The episode's fine.
It's a fine
episode.
It's a sturdy episode.
Yeah. It's a workhorse episode. It does the job. All right, let's move on. After the non-elimination, the girls walk back into the workroom where Roxy fills the girls in on her traumatic childhood experience. Meanwhile, Roxy apologizes to Jinx. Detox is annoyed there was no elimination. Alaska complains about having yet to win a challenge, while Coco establishes herself as an underdog in the competition. The next day, RuPaul enters the workroom and announces this week's mini challenge.
Now, ladies, Andrew has brought his models to play a little game of... What you packing? You ask a model to drop trowel and reveal his Andrew Christian. Oh. Your job is to find the matching pair. Oh. Now, the queen that makes all the matches the fastest wins.
All right, very good. Now, Taylor, before we play our little game, what did you have to feel? We talked about the mini challenge, so people know we liked it, but did you have any other thoughts? Just to get it out of the way, sort of the interesting thing here is not only is Brent Corrigan in the group, but we have a pre-Drag Race Miles Davis Moody. Right?
Yep.
And
with a mohawk.
With a mohawk. And we also have, for fans of Finding Prince Charming, we have Robbie, putting on his best butch look.
I think I saw him too.
He stands right next to Brent Corrigan. He stands right next to Brent Corrigan.
I used to, when you guys did the Finding Prince Charming recap, I used to look at the pictures on Logo's page so I could kind of at least get an idea of who you were talking about.
Yeah.
And he was somebody that looked familiar, so I figured that was who it was.
Okay, so Taylor, any other thoughts on this challenge? It's hard to tell like who should win. I mean, they're telling you it's Ivy. There's no way for anybody to know. This is one of those things where the challenge in theory is by number, but they can manipulate it to be whoever they want it to be.
Well, I'd like to go back to when they all come in from the non-elimination first.
Sure, go ahead.
And when Roxy recognizes her behavior that she was lashing out at Jinx, because she was feeling insecure about where she is and all that kind of stuff in the competition. And I think that was a nice moment. The problem that I have with not necessarily that moment, but the problem is that, we have a saying here in our house, in our family and stuff. When you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
And I think that we see this continued behavior down the line with her. And that's not okay. I mean, there seems to be no point of reference to where she recognizes that she's continuing to engage in that behavior later on in the season. So while it was kind of nice to see that for a second, I'm a little like doing a little side eye because I know what's coming up in future weeks.
Interesting. To me, actually, I took an opposite view of it. I was like, she's called it, and it makes me forgive the future episodes more.
No. Okay, why?
It's so funny because, we've said, let's discuss Rise of Skywalker versus The Last Jedi after the show, but it sort of relates to, we're not going to get into this, but it does relate to it in that what I was going to talk to you about was, I don't know if you saw this article or this Twitter thing where Rian Johnson, director of The Last Jedi, responded to a fan on Twitter. Did you see this?
No.
Okay. And we'll talk about it in depth after the show, but it has to do with essentially, a fan was upset that with Rian Johnson's interpretation, Luke goes back to his old ways where he responds to his emotion. Okay?
Yeah.
And that that was settled in Return of the Jedi when he defeated it when he was at, on his face to face with Darth Vader. And Rian Johnson basically human beings aren't like that. Human beings constantly struggle with things. And it's the same thing here is Roxy is aware of it, right? And so maybe it helps explain why she is behaving the way she does later. Just because she's called it doesn't mean now she's forever beholden to.
No, I'm not saying there aren't going to be moments of that where we don't, especially when you've got at this point, Roxy is 24, I think, at the time of this. You know, you've got 24 years of history and 24 years of behavior. So you're not going to immediately turn on a dime. But if you recognize that you're doing it, if you recognize, especially if it's so recent, I mean, you figure even though we're seeing this show weekly, when it originally aired, they're filming these episodes back to back to back with, you know, occasional days off in between. You would think that she would catch herself a little bit quicker and go, no, I'm not going to do that, because that doesn't, while it feels good short term, it doesn't feel good long term. You know,
but don't you think, now hear me out, that for the very reason that you said, it's so close together that she's just, and you're also in this high pressure situation. You're not getting a lot of sleep. You're not, you know, you're very tired, you're exhausted, you're getting alcohol, and it's just like you're just going to be at your worst, especially at the end. You know, I just had a friend out here from Germany, Carlo, and I will say he saw me many times at my worst, you know, because essentially I'm a grumpy old man and grandpa needs his naps in the afternoon. If he doesn't get it, he gets very, very irritable and grumpy.
Do you take naps every day?
No, I don't take naps every day, but like when you're running me around fucking Southern California like a goddamn bus, then yeah, I'm going to need a nap every day. When I come to visit, do we get to take naps? Oh yeah, for sure. No. That's going to be the greatest thing. Yeah, we're going to take naps.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah. He didn't want to take naps. He wanted to squeeze in as much California as possible. No. I'm not even joking. Today's the first day I've been able to really function since he left.
Oh my God. You are an old lady.
He just left on Tuesday and I needed like 3 days of sleep and resting and watching my dinner with Andre because I'm an old man. And by the way, my new thing, I'm super into hard candies now. This is Clay's raspberry old fashioned hard candies. I really like them. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so getting back to behaviors and that.
Anyway, the point is that when you're under when you're tired and you're under stress, you're not going to act your best.
Okay,
i.e., some mystery story I don't know from Pot is my co-pilot about macaroni and cheese happened to you, right?
Yes, I know, but I also am not at macaroni and cheese all the time.
No, but neither is she. You're seeing isolated moments.
Okay, but I'm also, when I'm at macaroni and cheese, I'm internalizing it. I'm not lashing out at other people. I guess that's the difference between what we call macaroni and cheese moments on Pot is my co-pilot versus what Roxy's going through is that I tend to not lash out at others. And I also will recognize and I try to modify it so that I don't have those mac and cheese moments. It's rare I have those moments anymore. But that I think has also come with age and with practice. No, but that is not to say, I mean, I had a couple of weeks ago or was that 2 weeks ago where we were going to go out for my birthday and the battery in my car died and I had issues with my tires all of a sudden. And I just kind of had this meltdown because I was not wanting to, I just allowed myself to go to that place for a little bit. And luckily I had somebody sitting in the car next to me that was trying to talk me out of it. And it would have been easy for me because I was that way to lash out at him, but that's not fair to him.
Everyone needs to know. I don't know about this mac and cheese moment, but I've seen it when he was getting ready for a live event and he needed to work on this software to go live and I had to work with him. Oh my God.
That wasn't a mac and cheese. That was just a tantrum. Oh. Mac and cheese is bad. Mac and cheese moments for me are really bad. Mac and cheese moments, I say horrible things about myself.
Well, you know what, Taylor? I got you. I'll say horrible things about you for you.
Thank you. Okay. That's why I stay a part of this Afterthought Media Party, because I know I can always count on the host to make sure that all of my needs are met.
Yeah. Now, let's do this workroom game now. Okay.
Okay.
What I did, and it took me a while to find the right moment. I got the screenshots of the boys.
Okay.
Okay. And with their numbers and everything in a row, I'm going to put 2 photos in the exclusive tier channel. Okay.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is we are going to choose our favorites. Okay.
Okay. Excellent.
Yes.
Oh, geez. All right. How can I make this bigger? Take that how you want.
Yeah. So there's 2 there. It should be in order of the numbers that they are. And Humble Pie in the chat room says tap to enlarge it. So okay. Oh yeah. So there you go. All right. So I'm gonna write down my favorites. Okay. Who I like. You know what's funny is let's not count numbers 1 and 2 because they're always on the show.
Okay.
Right. So and that's for Jason J. Carter and Sean Morales. They're not going to count in this. This is for the new people who are here this episode. All right.
Okay.
So it's 2 through the end. And I'm going to write down who my favorites are just from looking at this. And it's rough because I like that one. And I'm wondering if the people back in the chat room can guess who I like. What's funny is it makes sense why they do these quick cuts, because actually a lot of the guys aren't particularly attractive. Like numbers 10 and 11. Well, maybe I shouldn't call it for you. Okay. I have, in the first batch, I have my numbers, I think.
I have 4 in the first batch.
Oh, you do? Oh, I just closed Discord. You know what? I have the luxury of having the actual photos here, so I'm going to look at those. Okay, so let's do the first batch first. Okay.
All right, hold on. I'm getting my.
I'm not even looking at the second batch yet. I have 2 and a maybe. I have 2 and 2 maybes.
I have 4 just total.
Okay, I have 4 total. 2 of them are for sure. 2 of them are maybes. Okay, so let me do my maybes right here.
Okay, so meaning maybe what? Maybe we want them to do things to us?
No, just more. I can't tell from this shot, but it looks like yes, but no. Okay, so
oh no, you know what? I'm changing it. I have 5.
Oh, you have 5. You have 5.
Yeah.
Okay, Taylor, why don't you name your 5 people?
I like 3.
Okay.
I like 4.
Mm-hmm.
I like 5.
Okay.
I like 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I like 8.
Interesting. You and I agree on 2 of them.
Okay. Who do you like?
I like 3 and 4. Number 3, and what's funny because number 3's body isn't as good as the others, but man, he is so cute.
That face.
That face
with the dark hair. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Number 3, yeah, for sure. 4 is just standard issue twink. I like him. Right? Mm-hmm. But 5, 6, don't do it for me. Here are my maybes. 7 and 9.
Okay, 9, no. And you're wrong. And here's why.
Well, I said it's a maybe, so tell me why I'm wrong.
Okay, because I actually have a note about this of when he pulls down his pants, he does this weird, trying to, this mini thrust thing.
Oh, really?
And 8, looks at him and has this "you're gross" look on his face. It's,
really?
It's this funny moment. Yeah. Because 9 is the first one to pull his pants down.
Oh.
Plus, I hate those tattoos on the cum gutter. I'm not a big fan of tattoos.
Who's the one that had the big schwanz? Is he in this batch?
I think he's in the other one.
Okay, so we have their ones for. Okay, so now let's go to batch number 2, Taylor.
Okay, batch number 2. I have 5.
I haven't even looked at it yet. But I'll look at it right now. So batch number 2. Well, there's some. Okay, obviously, I'm just going to call it. I'm going to have a thing for Brent Corrigan. He to me is like the ultimate twink, and will always. Okay.
Yeah, this is weird because when you've seen Brent Corrigan recently, he's definitely more muscle.
Yeah,
he's
Brent
more
Corrigan,
circuit guy.
And what's funny, I said this in the episode then, and I'll say it now. He is better looking now, than he was then, or as a twink. Yeah, he aged very, very, very well. I'm gonna be honest with you. I only have. Oh, I have 4 in this one too.
I have 5.
Oh, really?
I have 4 yeses and a maybe.
Okay, so who are yours, Taylor?
My maybe is number 12.
Oh, really? I would never be. You look like a Jeff Bezos just walked in.
He is somebody that I would have lived with in the dorms.
Yeah.
And would have been a nice guy, but he would have been a jock that I wouldn't have seen a lot. And I probably would have caught a couple of quick glances at his dick in the shower.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to kind of see it. But not, he's cute.
Yeah.
Brent Corrigan is cute. So that means that Robbie, that's 14, is Robbie from Finding Prince Charming?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not who I thought it was, but that's fine. He's not on my list. 17, Miles Davis Moody can do whatever he wants to me. 18 looks very Guido, very South Jersey to me. 19 and 22.
Interesting. Okay, so here am I.
So I had 6 on that list.
Okay, so on my list, 13 Brett Corrigan, yes, but I'm wondering if what I would have thought if I didn't know who it was. Right? I don't know, but
you would have liked him.
I would have. You're right. Let's be honest. Okay, now, but you know who I think loses because I know who he is Robbie. I bet you Robbie would have been a yes had I not known who he is.
Well, Robbie kind of had a weird like chicken chest. Like it wasn't like really. He almost had like that concave type chest. It looked like it wasn't. Yeah. It was, me being the apex of the male physique.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a complete expert on critiquing these boys.
Now,
wasn't impressed.
17, Miles Davis Moody for sure. But here's the other thing too: 19 and 22. Holy fucking shit! Yes. 19,
did I say 19? Yeah, I did say 19.
You did.
Yeah.
Now I do have a maybe. My maybe though is 15.
Okay, I guess. You like tall guys, so that's maybe that.
I like short guys too. I like them all.
Like them all.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So, okay. So that's our little game. Now you know who our favorites are. Interesting. We'll be back right after this. All right, very good. All right, moving on. I gotta pull all my window. I gotta close all these windows and everything.
I know.
So I can play
now I'm going through it, reading everybody's.
Oh yeah, what are people saying?
So we've got some people liking 9, 15, 20, 21, 9, 13, 15, 18, 21. And then 1 is the only hot one.
1? Oh,
so
because Jason J. Carter.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Next. Oh, so Ivy Winters was named the winner of the challenge, and she won a phone call home. Which, of course, they did that shitty thing. We'll just talk about it now, where they show the phone call, and Jinx they're like coming up, you know, and it's like Jinx saying, "I have a crush on Ivy," and then it shows her going, "I love you." I'm like, why do they lie?
I wrote a note about that. Just that it's I wonder if they think people still buy that, because they still do that on current seasons.
Oh yeah, they didn't do it on Drag Race UK.
Yeah, well, because they don't have commercials.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But, I mean, did anybody watch it on Logo? Did they try to do that when they showed commercials on Logo? I would be curious.
I don't know.
Also, can we talk about Andrew Christian?
Sure.
Like the actual person.
Okay. Now I know in the private episode you talked about your distaste for him. Has that changed?
No. He's somebody that, had he not looked like he'd been dipped in a vat of olive oil, I might have thought was cute. Because he's kind of my type as far as he's like the little kind of cubby sort of, but there's something about him. Plus, he looks like anytime he says one line, that's it. And then anytime they show him, he's constantly looking around the studio while Ru is playing the game with the contestants. It's kind of weird that he's there. I guess he just figured he wanted to be a part of the machine that is Drag Race. Yeah. But I wasn't impressed with him. And he's on other seasons, I feel like.
Just here and there. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. But I don't think many more. I think maybe 1 or 2. I don't think it's a lot.
We talked on the private show thinking that there was a time limit, but when you listen back to the challenge, it sounds like who can match all of them. So there probably wasn't a time limit.
Yeah, they even
it was just however long it took you to get matched everybody.
And who had the shortest amount of time to do it.
Right.
Yeah. Which is a smart way of doing it. All right. Next, RuPaul announced this week's main challenge.
For this week's main challenge, you'll be creating and marketing your own signature fragrance. You'll come up with the scent, a name, a package, and then film your own commercial.
In the workroom, Alyssa annoys Jinx. Ivy Winters confesses that she's always wanted to create her own fragrance. Alaska is working hard to win this particular challenge, and a smitten Jinx flirts with Ivy Winters. During the table visits, Alaska needs to make her perfume's name stand out. Roxy's scent smells like food. Coco's title is confusing. Alyssa doesn't know what her secret is, and Ivy needs to go back to the drawing board for her scent. Taylor, any thoughts on the workroom, on the table visits, on the main challenge? Tell us what you think, Taylor. That's what we're all here for.
I think that the table reads were, I just wrote down standard fare. Mm-hmm. There was it where she would walk up, she'd ask them what they're doing, they would tell her, she would tell them they were wrong, and then she'd walk away and leave them all confused.
Yeah.
It kind of shows that this one sort of picks out who in the group may be smarter than who's not in the group. You know, I mean, even the whole Alyssa secret where she didn't really have a secret was funny. My name is Coco, but I'm going to call it Ru Animal.
That was so weird.
Which I appreciate I appreciate Michelle calling that out, that she's clearly kissing RuPaul's ass at this point.
Meanwhile, Michelle's lips are covered in RuPaul's shit on her mouth.
Yeah, well, there's a mental picture I didn't need, but yeah, it's, whereas I feel like especially when we get to the commercials.
Can you imagine Michelle's face buried in RuPaul's butt crack?
Do I have to? Paint a picture for me. Where are they?
It's funny that you're saying that, because what I'm thinking, what I should have pulled is the clip of RuPaul smelling Alaska's scent, and she goes like, "Yeah, that's the stuff." I'm like, we could have done that with Michelle making some noise, and that would be like the scene of Michelle eating out RuPaul's ass.
Now, is Ru in drag?
No. Ru's in boy clothes.
She's in her
She's
Parker
wearing
Epstein suits or whatever,
her like an orange Klein Epstein Parker suit or something like that.
So she's in an orange suit.
Yeah, orange suit, and then Michelle.
Where are they? Are they in Ru's estate in the Hollywood Hills, or are they at the World of Wonder office?
Yeah, Michelle's come over.
Contract negotiations.
Yeah, and then she comes over, and and by the way, Ru's just doing Michelle a favor. Michelle's like, I just need to get in there.
Oh, Michelle, this isn't about if you want to be part of season 12.
No. In my head, Michelle likes it.
Michelle, it's been a while, and I really I just need some of that chocolate starfish.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay.
Yeah. And then, and Ru was like, oh, okay.
So is Ru bent over? Is Ru on her back? Ru's bent
over. Ru's bent over. But this leads me to think, like, how this seems to, do you and Babalu have a process?
For what? Eating ass?
Mm-hmm. While you think it over, I'm going to tell you something.
We might.
Oh, really? There's a process.
There's not a process. It just kind of happens. But if for some reason it's not supposed to happen, parties are made aware very quickly. Mm-hmm. No.
Well, I was with a guy. This is actually so, I don't know if it's sexy for anybody else, but I had this, regular, friends with benefits, and he would come over to my place. And if he wasn't ready, he would go like, let's go to the bathroom. He would take he would do like a really sexy shower as he cleaned himself, and then I would just go to town after that. Ugh. I loved eating him out.
I have no problem with that. Not for you. I'm talking for me. That's something I have no problem in engaging in that.
Here's the deal. I don't like to be eaten out.
It's been a while for me, but I used to like it. Well, one of the last times that I did it before, I love how we go from talking about Drag Race to eating ass. One of the last
times.
That's
the show, Taylor.
That's it. That's our brand. Before Babalu, a guy came over and was eating my ass, and he blew air, like he almost gave me like a raspberry on my ass on purpose, and I thought I farted because all of a sudden I'm just like, where did that come from? And he was like, no, that was me. I totally did it. I was like, okay, don't do that again. And then pretty much proceeded to let him go back to doing what he was doing.
I'm not even joking, and maybe I'm making. I would say, and I'm not even joking. I would say maybe 10% of my. I'm totally over camera now, but that made it difficult to get over Cameron was we never lived out this fantasy where he wanted me to eat his ass out and I wanted to eat his ass out, and it just never happened. And I was like, God, okay, just get in there, just one time even.
Just one time.
Yeah.
Well, Christmas is here. Maybe you can ask Santa for that.
No, Taylor, I'm completely devoted to somebody named Aiden. I don't know if he's still devoted to me, but by the way, it has nothing to do with Aiden.
No, it's just,
No.
Okay.
No. I have an update and something else.
Okay, we'll add that to the list of your Boba Fett doll and Rise of Skywalker and the lawsuit and all the other stuff.
What's the lawsuit? The lawsuit. Yeah.
The lawsuit. Mm-hmm. So all right. So then I have a question for you. Would you rather get head or give head?
Give. 100%.
Yeah, me too.
It's so funny.
I love sucking dick.
It's so funny that you say this. Just this morning, I woke up. Okay, there's this guy. Okay, I don't know how to explain this. He's actually straight. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's a straight guy that I know who is not annoying in a classical sense, annoying in a Revenge of the Nerds kind of way. Mm-hmm. He's like super nerdy. And he kind of talks like this, right? Like that. But he has a beautiful, giant fucking dick. Okay? Which, of course, that's the way God works,
He moves in mysterious ways.
This guy looks like a puppet. Okay? He looks like a 30-year-old puppet. All right?
Okay.
With his big, giant, fucking, huge dick. Okay? He's straight. And he can't get a girlfriend. He can't get a girlfriend to save his life. Can't get laid. And there's a part of me that wants to be like, listen, let's work something out here.
How do you know he has a big dick?
He's shown it to me. I have pictures.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a lot of people who they get off on sending me pictures of their dicks.
Okay.
Yeah. And
straight guys.
Straight guys. Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And so, I want to be like, can we just work something out where I just fucking suck your dick and you just watch porn or something like that? Like you see in these porn videos, cause I just want to suck his dick. So I don't care about him. In fact, if there was a way for him to detach it and leave it with me and then come pick it up later like a dog or something, I would love that. Right?
So you want to be like a Jake Cruz of Afterthought Media?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, we're good. Guys, everyone should know there's a chat room for the exclusive tier, and there's so much going on in the exclusive tier chat room that I have to minimize it because I can't, there's so much going on. Because Taylor, you don't know this. There's one person in there, Jordan Darling, and I've cleared this by him, Taylor. I can talk about this.
Okay.
I must have had a dream or something, but now I need to get inside Jordan Darling like nobody's business.
What?
Yeah. I don't know. I just need to make it happen. Jordan needs to tell me what I need to do to make that happen. If I need to lose 200 pounds, I'll fucking start running right now. But yeah, I need to get inside Jordan Darling and just fuck the living shit out of him. And I've cleared this with him.
So with the $30 tier of Patreon, we'll have video of Joe running.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's Lori's fantasy. She wants to have a tier where people watch us work out, which I've told her under no circumstances will that ever happen. And she keeps bringing it up.
When is Fat Camp coming back?
Oh, we've changed the name.
To what?
The Pig Crew.
Well, I'm sure that will get lots of new listeners.
By the way, credit to Lori Roggenkamp.
And exercise.
Yeah, credit to Lori Roggenkamp for that title. not Joe Betance. The Pig Crew. I don't know. It should come back. I know you're right. Especially since I'm doing a cleanse with Mercedes and Chris starting January 1.
Well, I was going to say, this is the time of year. Mm-hmm. It's, resolutions and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You should give it a shot.
Well, maybe I will. Taylor. Let's move on because we've really veered off. People want to know why we need a script. We need a script so I can know, where do we go back to? And I have it right here.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Jinx and Ivy.
Oh, that's right. Well, we're not, I don't think we're there yet. We're not there yet.
No, we did talk about it.
Oh, yeah. She flirts with Ivy. Yeah. Okay. Uh-huh.
Right.
Okay.
Then you've got, Ivy that I know you think Ivy's cute as a boy, but
No. Remember I told you there was one thing that I changed my mind on from the private show?
Uh-huh.
I listened to that. I'm like, I do not think Ivy is cute as a boy.
No,
she
Ivy
does
is
not
way
do
too
it.
Pale, way too thin.
Yes. And you mentioned
like Jack Skellington.
Yes, and you mentioned, and I didn't. And this is before I heard it. Maybe it's because of HD TV or whatever. But you mentioned her yellow teeth. Not even that they're yellow, but they're off color. There's a whole thing going on, and I noticed it this time when I watched it before I heard the episode. And because both the listener and I are like, "What are you talking about, Taylor? We don't know what you're talking about with yellow teeth." But if you watch it in HD, you're like, "Oh, Ivy has something going on with her teeth." Yeah. Ain't nothing going on, yellow teeth. Anyway,
you better have a DDS.
If you want to eat my ass. Okay. So anyway, so that is the one thing I've changed my opinion on. I do not find, you know what? I don't think she's ugly. I think she's very beautiful, but there's something very asexual about her to me.
Well, asexual can be beautiful. Asexual can be, she's not.
Well, I'm saying that she's beautiful
as a queen. She's gorgeous.
Yeah, no, even as a boy, she's gorgeous. there's nothing sexual about her.
I feel like we're saying this so that we don't get all the Ivy winner stands coming out. All 4 of the Ivy winner stands that are out there.
So,
he's so mean to my queen.
But we did talk about this. This is true that we did, and this is a good thing to mention here is, later on, so we can just cover it now. Jinx talks about how she thinks this could turn into a relationship and blah, 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 blah. And one of us, and it could have been the listener, could have been you, could have been me, brought up, they seem to have gotten really tight here in this workroom. And Ivy's never mentioned her long-term boyfriend, who they've gotten married since. Yeah. That just never comes up, or what is Jinx thinking here?
Well, it may be okay. I heard that too, as far as this may be the beginning of a relationship. And
if it would have been for that, I would have been like innocent crush.
Right. But I think that it could have been our interpretation of relationship by way of the way it was edited may be different than what she meant, as far as I may have a really good friendship here, or we may be where we just kind of have, I have friends that, my husband is aware that I get all flirty and giggly with when I'm around them, and they get flirty and giggly with me, but we both know that's as far as it goes. So maybe she was looking at it as beyond the scope of the competition, that maybe this is something different. But the way they were presenting it with where they're sitting 6 inches away from each other, and you've got Ivy going poison rosebud at her, saying the whole thing was, it just kind of looked, the perception that they were trying to create looked a little different. Because this is also something that, this is really sort of the first we're hearing about this all season.
Well, Taylor's talking about a moment where they're in the workroom and Alyssa's working on her stuff, and Ivy sneaks up behind her and they just start chatting, and Ivy says that she's going to call her fragrance poisoned rosebud, and Jinx is like, Ivy, you know that's another word for asshole, right? And she's like, yeah, you dumb bitch. Of course I knew that.
Yeah.
We're all doing dumb double entendres here. Why do you think I'm such an idiot?
Right.
But anyway, that's the moment Taylor's talking about. But go ahead.
But that whole thing of where they're sitting like really close next to each other, and Jinx is gazing into Ivy's eyes, and it just was not. I get that they were trying to create something, but for me, I was sort of watching that and making a face. I just wrote down that it was creepy, sad, and odd.
In Jinx's defense, though, I could see, I can tell that Ivy's one of those people who's just a genuinely sweet person. Right. And so just always, not that she's intentionally flirting, but if you were looking for it and you were attracted to her, I could see how you would think, oh, she's into me. Just by the way she engages with people.
Well, and you've got a room full of people that nobody seems to be giving Jinx the time of day, and nobody seems to be giving Jinx the credit that she deserves at this point. So when you've got somebody that's being a genuinely kind person, it's easy for you to get wrapped up in that, and to have that where that steamrolls, and you get thinking about things of that sort.
Are you okay, Taylor? Are you choking up again over Jinx?
No. No, I had to burp again. Thank you for pointing that out. Another thing that I noticed during the table reads is we have another example of where Rue is talking to somebody, and they cut to this weird quick shot of Alyssa looking bored and eating. I don't know if this is something that goes on for because I know that we don't have that much longer with Alyssa, but I almost want to go back now and see how many times they cut to this, where she's usually like slowly eating a bag of chips with her weird soft chin and just kind of looking off into the distance, where she looks like she has no clue where she is. It was a giggle moment.
I've never noticed. You're very perceptive on these things. I never noticed these things.
Well, it was blatant when last week's episode with Coco, where when she was interviewing Coco and they kept flashing over to Alyssa. This had nothing to do with Coco this week. It was somebody else, because Coco was actually in the shot of where Coco was talking to Alyssa, and Alyssa's just kind of looking off eating chips or cheese puffs or something and just sort of staring off into the distance. It was funny to me. That's all.
All right, very good. It's time to film the commercials. Michelle Visage and special guest judge Aubrey O'Day are there to offer their critiques. Jinx goes over the top. Ivy's energy is a little low. Coco's a little much. Detox is low energy. Alyssa is just plain weird. Alaska amuses. This happened on the private show. Everyone should know. I kept saying Aliska. Because if I have Alyssa and Alaska next to each other, I'll say that. And I almost said it. Alaska amuses the judges while Roxy showed up unprepared. Let's talk about this, but I also want to use this moment, but let's talk about this time with Aubrey O'Day and Michelle filming. But when we're done there, let's talk, and I have each finished product if you want to hear any of them.
I figured we would do that.
Yeah. Let's talk about that now. So let's first talk about the filming. What were as obviously we were not fans of Aubrey O'Day, and I think this is the part where her behavior was most egregious. But what were your thoughts here, Taylor?
On Aubrey?
Or the whole thing, just the whole filming process.
Well, again, standard fare. We've seen this before, of where the ones that, some of them didn't look like they knew what they were doing, and the commercials ended up being really good, i.e. Jinx's. I thought, Alaska's seemed to be where it was the same as the actual commercial itself, where they were having a good time watching her do it. And then the commercial itself is probably my favorite of the commercials. The whole idea of Roxy not really, I'm just going to say words. I've done that in presentations before. Where I've just thought, I'm just going to wing it. And it's not a good feeling. No. Where you kind of have a checklist in your head of words that you want to say. And sometimes you sort of feel like I feel like I've done it on the show, even with notes that I've taken, where I'm like, I want to get that point in, even though it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And she was wanting to talk about juicy and fruity and food and talking about like maple. I wouldn't want to smell like maple.
Yeah, that was a weird choice. Roxy is one of these ones. Let's talk about when we get to the commercial part of it. We have to talk about the commercial, but let's talk about the filming right now.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole idea of where it seemed like every time anybody did anything, they would flash to Aubrey O'Day with her big eyes and her whole like, I don't know, sort of look on her face. And it was like every single person got one or more of those. And then some of the comments that were made just felt, as I said this on the private show, it feels like she was thinking Michelle's only got a year or two left, so this is my audition to be the next Michelle Visage, because really reality TV is really the only thing I'm any good at. So I'm going to, if I come in and act like the bitch, which she definitely did on the runway, but this was the beginnings of this. Yeah. It's when Michelle is the one giving constructive criticism, that it looks bad for Aubrey O'Day.
Yeah. Even though Michelle was laughing hysterically at all her jokes, I was just like, this is not funny. But maybe she's not uncomfortable, like, oh, God, this guest is here and she's awful.
Yeah. It reminded me of the episode of season 8 with Tori Spelling and Jenny Garth.
Okay.
And because I went to that season, I went to the Battle of the Catwalk or whatever it was, and they talked about the fact that Jenny Garth was sort of that kind of okay, whatever, and Alexis Michelle talked about the fact that she was a bitch. Like Jenny Garth was horrible to work with.
Oh, so she should know she's one of the
I kind of got shades of that with this.
All right, yeah. Look, Aubrey O'Day was horrible. There's when Jinx was posing upside down with the pit crew. She's like, "This is what you're doing." And went to act. I'm like, "What are you doing? What is that? Stupid." And then here's the thing with Coco's commercial. Coco's commercial and scent are awful for reasons that have nothing to do with the leopard on leopard. Which one of the things I want to point out was Michelle was wearing leopard, but is that Aubrey? And I'm actually not gonna throw Michelle under the bus here because I'm gonna say Michelle did a weak attempt at trying to protect Coco, but also. It's awkward. You have a guest there and they're saying things and being crazy. You don't know what to do. So I'm going to not throw Michelle under the bus, but, Aubrey's critique here is not good with Coco because her critique is that Coco's wearing leopard and there's a leopard background and it's too much leopard.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at a weird transition here in season 5. I feel that's a critique that actually they would get now. But this is still I feel like season 1 they wouldn't have because it's so drag to do that.
Right.
Does that make sense? So, drag is about the exaggeration of femininity to the point of ridiculousness. Especially old school drag. And so, I think Coco was making a choice and not in an uninformed way in this is an old school drag thing to do. I'm going to put leopard on leopard and this is going to be way too much leopard and that's just being drag.
Yeah.
And so, now whether you think the choice works or not, I think Coco was taking it to a campy place and she got called out on it, which they didn't bring that up during their critiques of the commercial. So I think that the judges, for the most part, got it. Now once we hear the commercial in a bit, you'll understand the commercial and the scent didn't work for other reasons. But right. I don't know if necessarily the leopard on leopard is the reason.
It reminded me I feel like she was trying to go for a Grace Jones in Boomerang.
Okay.
You ever seen Boomerang?
No, I've never seen Boomerang. I know what it's about though. Yeah.
Grace Jones plays a character named Strange,
okay,
who is this very over the top, everything is leopard in crazy outfits, and she does a commercial for a perfume.
Oh, Strange does?
Strange does in the movie.
Okay.
And the tag Strange, it stinks so good. That's the tagline for the and I feel like that is sort of what Coco was going for with this.
Yeah. So I guess we can just leave it there. We talked about I'm trying to think if there's anything else here with the filming of the commercial. We covered Jinx, we covered Coco. All right. Let's move on to the actual commercial. So do you want to hear them all, Taylor? They're not very long, or do you want to have select ones?
They're all only 15, 20 seconds.
I know what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Ivy's. I am going to throw Michelle under the bus here for this one. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Michelle Visage is nothing but a mouthpiece for the producers. But you're telling me Ivy throws that scene up. She thinks it's New York City. Okay? It's actually Tokyo. And Michelle goes, that's Tokyo. And you're telling me, now I could see someone like Michelle who grew up in Jersey knowing that's not New York. Okay?
Right.
Because it actually doesn't look a lot like New York. It looks too futuristic. But her going, that's Tokyo. You're like, bitch, someone told you it was Tokyo. You didn't just know that's Tokyo. You know? Anyway, okay, that's the only thing I want to say. All right, here we go. First one, Coco with, she's going to say her name of her own perfume. Here we go.
Rude Animal by Coco. Wow. Exotic. Essence of a woman.
Okay, your thought on Coco's commercial, Taylor.
I think that if they had focused on the noise, it did make me laugh when they said coming up next, and they added the lion noise as she opened her mouth at one point.
Uh-huh.
If she had gone full into that during the commercial, because they used the lion noise when the guy's got the mask, when Sean Morales has the mask on. If they'd done it where she was the one making the noises and stuff, I think it would have been funnier. But still, there's no sentences or anything. It's just random words that are put together.
All right. The words don't make any sense apart from it, and who knows what it smelled. They did judge him on the scent, and we don't know what the scent was. So that's a tough one to do. All right, next one.
Well, apparently a bunch of them smelled like grandma's vag.
Yeah. Thank you.
Which fuck off.
Yeah. All right, next we have Alaska.
Dangerous, flawless, overpriced. Whether you're getting Red the house down, your makeup is terrible, or just ready to go down, the exciting new fragrance, Red.
By the way, that's a real RuPaul laugh. That is not a fake RuPaul laugh.
for filth. Are you red? E for me?
Alaska's commercial. Taylor.
I loved Alaska. Why, but we got the classic "Your makeup is terrible" out of it, which I know is a quote from
the Queen by Crystal LaBeija. I couldn't remember, and I was so mad. I was one of the people
saying Pepper LaBeija, the private show. Yeah.
I had one of those experiences where I'm the listener and I'm screaming in my car, going, "It's Crystal LaBeija, you dumb fuck!" You know.
Which you're not the first faggot in the world to scream that by themselves in a car. For some random reason.
Whatever reason, yeah.
I think the fact that when Rue came to her and said, "I'm going to call it Red," and she's like, "Somebody's called which I believe is Elizabeth Arden, has a perfume called Red." The fact that she changed it to Red for Filth is a great branding, especially for somebody like Alaska, who at this point was kind of in that freak category of drag. Had Drag Race, had she not been on Drag Race, I could have seen Alyssa clearly. I just did Alyssa. Alyssa clearly could have been a Dragula girl.
Alaska could have been a Dragula girl.
Alaska could have been a Dragula girl. So when you have this, the branding, everything about it, it's funny. When she says overpriced and she turns around, she doesn't know what that is a great classic moment of the show. I love this commercial. I think the commercial was great.
In terms of gameplay, it's brilliant. As RuPaul makes us a vague suggestion, like, and I think there is one called Red. And a lot of queens, Ivy Winters is a good example, go like, well, I gotta start my microphone. I have to start this whole process all over again,
Right.
And she did, and she goes, okay, well, how can I take what I have and just tweak it?
Right.
And that made it better,
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah,
all right, next we have Ivy Winters.
Dress code by Ivy Winters for the glamorous girl on the go. Not only does it smell good, but it changes your style. Dress code by Ivy Winters, the scent that changes your style.
All right. Well, it's not funny, and so she does a dress change,
Yeah.
a quick change during the
Well,
commercial.
she says the exact same thing twice.
Yeah.
It changes your style. Dress code. It changes your style. That's especially what these can't be more than 15 seconds long.
They're 15 seconds long.
Yeah. So that's not enough. You need to, if you've only got that long, repeating yourself twice is not a good thing. It's similar to, I listen to CNN a lot on Sirius XM, and even like listening to Howard Stern and stuff. And when they play commercials, they will say a phone number at the end of the commercial like 4 times in a row. And it's super annoying. This is kind of the same vibe of that.
Yes, it is. I will say in defense of these people that the ad copy often says to read it a certain number of times.
No, I get that, but it sticks with me. The number sticks with me for about 5 seconds after it's done, but not enough to makes me want to call. It annoys me too much. I'm like, I will purposely go to your competitor because I don't want to deal with your ad.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm not going to get into this. Okay. The next we have Detox. Here we go.
Seduction, addiction, heroin, sexy, sultry, heroin. The new addiction for...
See, that's RuPaul's fake laugh. There are certain people, Roxy gets it too, where like RuPaul's just like, well, I want to justify why we're keeping them, so I'm going to laugh.
Addictive woman. Available at the clinic.
Your thoughts on Detox's commercial?
Available at the clinic is cute.
It is.
A cute way to end it. I thought she looked beautiful in this. I used to like when she did the heroin, but then I know that you are not a big fan of that, and I feel like you're starting to sway me with that style of humor. That's
overdone.
Something that I get that it's easy. It's easy for drag queens to do.
Yeah, we've seen that.
It's an easy reaction on a Thursday night or on a Saturday night at a club where there's a bachelor party going on, because then it makes everybody scream when you suddenly do the, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah,
that you have allowed me to recognize something that
I know the joke still works though, because I will constantly people here, they'll hear it, they'll see it, and they go, oh, it's so funny, ha 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 ha.
That's a dude.
He does that, and like I think that happens. Lori loved it on an episode of Dragula, and I was like, that was so clever. I'm like, Lauren, that joke is so overdone. It's like the oldest drag queen joke in the book.
Oh, the slasher film episode.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Wow, Taylor knows which one it is and everything. All right, next we have Alyssa Edwards.
Every woman has a secret. And my secret happens to be a little bigger. And what exactly is my secret? Why, it's Alyssa's secret. For the desire and the inspire.
Okay, what are your thoughts on this one, actually? This is one where I think that they sort of fuck with us here.
I feel like this is what Alyssa thinks the world is like in her brain.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the whole where I'm going to laugh and throw my head back. And I think that she actually goes through life thinking that she's this person.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a good, plus she's another one that she says secret like 3 times in 4 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not good. It's boring. It's a boring commercial.
I like it. Let me put it this way. Do I think it's the best one? No, I think it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's any better or worse than Detox. I think Roxy's is worse. I think Coco's is worse.
No, because at least with Detox had funny, or she was attempting funny.
Uh-huh.
And I would say there was more of a concept with Coco's, whereas this one was just sort of, I'm going to sit on a throne with 2 guys sitting next to me. Even with it was just like a plain white background, or there was one lamp in the background or something. It was dumb. It was not good.
But enough for her to be in the bottom 2 against Ivy?
Well, who do we have left? Jinx
and Roxy.
Well, maybe Roxy.
Yeah, that's why you're gonna hear RuPaul's fake laugh, because she has to justify why Roxy's not in the bottom 2.
Okay.
All right, let's listen to the Jinxes. Here we go.
For the girl who lives above her means. For the girl who just won't give up. For the girl with a dream. Delusion. Convince yourself.
All right, funny.
Conceptual.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely the most fleshed out of all of the episodes. All of the commercials, I mean.
Yeah. All right, and finally Roxy Andrews.
Thick and juicy. For the girls who are like me. Thick and juicy. For the girls that like to eat and don't worry about being petite.
Wait, what's so great about that one? And it smelled like
Yeah,
maple syrup.
I don't get why she's laughing with the girls who are like me, and then she just starts laughing.
And it smells like food. It smells like maple syrup. Would you wear cologne that smelled like maple syrup?
No. What's your favorite cologne?
Well, I've never worn it, but there was this crush that I had in college. And I don't even know if they still make this cologne. But anytime I think they do. I think I've smelled a lot of Persian men wearing it or something. But this Jean-Paul Gaultier with the blue and that looks like a man's body, do they still sell that cologne?
My dad used to wear that.
Oh, I love that cologne. I love the smell of that cologne. There's also this is a perfume. Next time I have it pass by an old lady wearing it, there's a certain perfume that old ladies wear that I love, not in a sexual kind of way because they're women, but like that. It reminds me of like more like grade school and like a favorite teacher wearing that perfume. It's like this weird nostalgic sort of.
It takes you back.
It takes me back.
They say smell is actually our strongest sense for memory, because certain smells can take you back to certain places, and cologne and perfume is definitely something where I can imagine myself being in certain scenarios or certain places when I smell certain things.
Here's a weird one: is when I was a kid, my parents moved out of LA. We moved about 50 miles east of Los Angeles to a place called Ontario, California, not Canada. Ontario, California. And at the time, this is why I had sort of this weird childhood. I had sort of like I would go to school in LA. My parents would drive every morning because they worked in LA. And so every morning I'd wake up at 5 a.m. and my grandma would get us ready. We would finish sleeping at my grandma's. She'd make us breakfast, get us ready for school. So I'd go to school in LA and then drive back at night. It was a whole thing, right? And, but at the time, Ontario, California used to be vineyards and like pastures. Okay. So it
Okay.
often smelled like fucking literal bullshit, like cow shit. Okay.
Okay.
It's no longer a vineyard and it's no longer pastures, but there's still something where when it's summer and the wind is right, you still get those old manure smells.
Yeah.
And because of that, when I think about the childhood, I don't go like, ugh. I actually think like, oh, that reminds me of being a kid and growing up in Ontario and playing baseball and, doing all that. So it's weird. Yes, smells do bring me back in a weird kind of way.
The cologne, you talked about a guy in college. My best friend in high school, who I was not so secretly in love with, when you put all the clues together, it was clear I was.
It's the one you stalked and moved down to Florida for?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't actually stalk him much, but yes, I definitely moved to Florida for him. He used to wear Fahrenheit, which is definitely an old school type color. Like you don't really hear people wearing it anymore. It comes in a bottle that's sort of a teardrop shape, that it's a gradient. The bottle itself it goes from a black to a red, but they still sell it, and they sell it at Epcot because they have a perfumery in the France Pavilion.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah. So anytime we go through there, usually we'll go over there for baked goods because fat. But if you walk through the perfume shop, I'll always grab the bottle and I'll always like just smell it really. And then I always get a look on my face and Babalu gives me a dirty look, but I can't help it. But those smells, Gap used to sell like body sprays or whatever. And there were unisex, and one of the ones they had was grass.
I remember that one.
Like fresh cut grass. Yeah. And this was when I was roommates with Rodan, and he hated when I wore it, but it reminded me of being a kid and mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
And that's that smell of grass, and I loved that smell.
I never wore it.
I'll have to ask him about that the next time I talk to him.
I never wore that grass, but I used to smell it whenever I went to the Gap. I loved it. Yeah. I wonder if someone still makes it. But I'd rather have a candle. I'd rather have a candle with
fresh cut grass.
Yeah. Which is funny because if you now know the biology of cut grass, it's literally the scent of them being like murdered and screaming in pain is that smell. But
it's blood. It's grass blood. It's the chlorophyll that's all leaving.
Yeah.
So, do you like the smell of gasoline?
I like the smell of gasoline. Here's the other thing,
I like the smell of gasoline too. Yeah.
I like the smell of cigarettes and cigars. Oh, I love
it. Cigars, I don't mind. Pipes remind me of my grandfather.
Love any kind of tobacco smell.
Yeah, but cigarettes, no. Cigarettes to me,
yeah, I still like. Well, because again, going back to childhood, I had a favorite uncle who used to smoke, and he smelled like cigarettes, and so like I love that smell. It doesn't.
Right, and my grandpop used to smoke pipes, so whenever it's so rare that you smell that anymore. But when you do get it, it's just it completely takes me back. I imagine myself in my grandparents' TV room, sitting on the couch next to him while he was watching Benny Hill or whatever it is that he was watching at the time.
Interesting. All right. It's elimination day and the girls... Oh, we didn't... Yeah, we finished them. And the girls get ready for the runway. Alaska shares her photo book. Let's get back to that. Ivy Winters calls her mom and Jinx admits her secret crush. Now, we've talked about the Ivy Winters. We talked about the Jinx. Alaska. Oh, I just found this photo book but by the way, in the shot, she directly walks to the suitcase, pulls out the book, and goes, guys, look at this book. But on the voiceover,
randomly found this book.
Yeah, in the voiceover, she goes, I was just going through my suitcase and I just randomly found this book in there. I'm like, no, I just watched you walk directly to your suitcase and pull it out.
Yeah, that was very contrived. And also, it's one of these where they're open, and it's all these weird pictures of like people with like clown makeup and doing all that. It was almost like a Boulay Brothers sort of like, photo journalism. It was just an odd, and everybody's going like, oh God, that's so pretty. Yeah. Oh wow, look at that.
Well, also, and she's getting emotional. People have to remember, even though this has been 2 months of us watching the show, it's essentially been about 2 weeks have passed so far. So it's not like she's been away from them for like months and months and months. It's been about 2 weeks of filming by this stage.
And at this point, they know that they're more than halfway through. So at some point soon, they'll be going home.
Yeah.
It might just be like we talked about the Roxy thing at the beginning. It might just be the emotional pressure of it that you're working these 12, 13, 14-hour days.
Yeah.
And you're not sure what everybody wants from you. And you're trying to negotiate all of these other personalities in the room.
All right.
Maybe that's it. I'll give Alaska a pass. Not Roxy, but I'll give Alaska a pass for all the reasons that you talked about earlier.
All right, now it's time for the looks. Today's the category is company spokeswoman. They're supposed to dress as the theoretical spokeswoman for their scent company, fragrance company. Taylor, any big looks or failures? What were you thinking here?
My favorite look was Alaska. I thought Alaska looked great she was wearing a combination of black and red, and she had on that sort of shocking red wig. Mm-hmm. And even though she was in the bottom two, I really liked Alyssa's look. Well, Alyssa kind of looked like a coked out Delta Burke from Designing Women in it. But it worked for me. The rest of the looks were horrible. Mm-hmm. I didn't like any of them. I liked the concept of detoxes. I get that she was trying to be very editorial. She had on sort of a nude and black combination, sort of where it was some of the parts were very restrictive, whereas other parts were very sheer. Mm-hmm. And she had on no wig, but had her hair slicked down. Mm-hmm. But the look, something about it was off. As much as I hate agreeing with Santino, it was sort of a miss for her. Mm-hmm. And everybody else just sort of was whatever. Did you have anybody that you liked?
Alaska.
Yeah.
I just called her Alaska, by the way. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Better than Aliska. All right, back on the main stage, Alaska is named the winner of the challenge, while Alyssa and Ivy are placed in the bottom two. The song Ain't Nothing Going On But the Rent by Gwen Guthrie. After a lip-sync battle for their lives, Alyssa was told, Shantae, you stay, while Ivy was asked to sashay away. Taylor the Latte Boy, any final thoughts on the episode, on the lip-sync? Is there anything we missed? What's in your notes? What didn't we get?
The only thing that I really kind of missed was that this week there was no Alyssa versus Coco stuff, but there was Alyssa and Coco versus against other people. So you had Coco versus Jinx in Untucked, and you also had Alyssa versus Roxy in Untucked, where they were kind of trashing each other and talking about the fact, which I thought this was interesting. The Detox was talking about how pissed she was that nobody went home last week with one of the two contestants that didn't go home. She was talking about it with Roxy. But then they were also sort of talking about it, thinking that if Ru was going to send anybody home last week, she would have sent home Alyssa.
Yeah. Now maybe that not talk, because there is a moment, I didn't mention it in the script, when they come in the next day before RuPaul does the You Got She-mail, Alyssa says in a confessional, I think they all wanted me to go home.
Oh, I missed that part.
It's very, very, very fast. It's literally, they walk in the next day, they have something that's not Relaska talks, they see something else, and it's like, then they do a random cutaway to Alyssa saying, all the people are mad because there was a double Shantae, and I think everybody here wishes I would have gone home.
Yeah.
And then it's like, ooh, you got she-mail.
So it just was interesting. You get so focused on Jinx versus Roxy and Alyssa versus Coco this season that you forget that there are other queens that all argue and bicker sometimes. So to see that is interesting to me. It's a different take on what we're used to. Because I just kind of remember this season as being every week until one of them goes home, Coco and Alyssa fight. Yeah. And they talk about the same things over and over again. And it definitely feels like the intervention of last week. We're seeing the fruits of that, to where they really they didn't trash one another. They didn't do anything. Coco was horrible on Untucked. And even with Coco being as horrible as she was, at one point she gets the message from home from her husband, and at one point she's very tearful and she's crying, and Alyssa is being really supportive of her, which is nice to see.
Well, I'm going to say, I think the show's tried to hide this. It feels like there was an off-camera reconciliation, because you have a couple, it must have been like 3 or 4 episodes ago, where they have the big blowout, with the fuck you, Alyssa, and it seems like something happens that we never see, where they actually are kind of okay with each other, with the exception of a few, like, oh, that wasn't fair that you did it to me in the roast and stuff like that. But they don't really seem to be fighting. And it seems that they do kind of have each other's backs and whatnot, by this point. So I feel like there was an off-screen reconciliation that we didn't see.
Maybe.
Or maybe they hid it from us because they want to keep that feud going.
Yeah.
because we know what's
well,
coming.
because if they knew that it was done, because at this point we don't know if at any point there's going to be, you know, those of us who watched it back in 2000 whatever, if there's still going to be yet another blow up about this.
And I'm going to say, actually, what's funny, because we asked the listener why he chose this episode, and one of the points he made, and I'm going to disprove him now, is by this point all of the filler except for Ivy are gone. And this is basically All Stars 2's cast just left in the competition. So, but then my answer to that is, then why didn't you just do the next? Why didn't you do episode 9? Which is because
then one of them would have gone home.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I think this next episode, right? The next episode is the telenovela. And I believe that's the one with Coco versus Alyssa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, So I think they wanted to save Coco versus Alyssa for that moment. And, cause we could have gotten rid of them a long time ago if that was the case. Any other thoughts, Taylor?
No, it was a strong episode.
It's a workhorse episode, you know? It does the job. A lot of those in this season 5. It makes it a strong season. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next week and every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 5. So, for Taylor the Latte Boy and myself,
sashay away until next week.
thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracerecap@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Drag Race Recap. If you want access to more content, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can follow Taylor the Latte Boy on Twitter and Instagram at PIMCTaylor. You can follow Lori Roggenkamp on Instagram at PickleMyth. Follow Joe Betance on Twitter and Instagram at Joe Betance. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast. This podcast was made possible by the following exclusive tier Patreon supporters: AJ Norris, April Pacheco, Astute Girl, Brad Coley, Bree Weiss, Common Cool, Coco San Pedro, D-Man, Dean Barney UK, Devin McKay, Diana Sklans, Doofus Maximus, Haley Sklans, Humble Pie, J. Thomas Plank, Jeffrey Thunderbear, Jesse Harris, Jesse Lozano, Jimmy Kielbasa, John J., Jordan Darling, Katie Whitmire, Lauren Eckert, Luke Stamen, Melissa Payton, Nicholas Alexander Springham, Nikki Baker, Parker Elliott, Pedro SF, Rachel J., Robert NYC, Sandy Ramirez Ruiz, Scott Sorensen, Sermet Smith, Travis Potter, Yaz Waz, and Eve Adams.